All right, we are going to prepare to go live here for our chapter 2. So I'm just going to give everyone a moment to hop on. Hey, Yolanda, how are you? Hope things are going okay for you. Hey, Sarah, and hey, embodied by Noeline. I hope Noeline me. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm going to get started here in approximately maybe 1 minute we have. And, I'd like to kind of start on time. If you are hopping on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, you have to comment in order for me to know that you are available. Um, Over here on Instagram, you guys, Instagram, if you have any questions or any comments throughout this lesson, make sure that you chime in because this is interactive. Ladies have been participating, coming up with some good comments and some good questions and concerns that I know, hey, Yvonne, that I know will help the whole group out. So it's important for you guys to be interactive so that when I'm giving you the coaching and the advice from the chapter that we're going to cover today, we're able to help each other and we're able to grow. Let me turn this light on a little bit. All right, Brett, hey, how are you? It is 7 o'clock. We are going to go ahead and get started. Remember, every weekday, Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, we are doing this. We are doing currently a book study on Atomic Habits for those of you that are new, because I do see some new faces. The reason why I picked this book is because we are 6 months into 2021. This is one of the most phenomenal books that I've ever read in order for you to reset your life and start to get back on track. And if you have found that 2021 is not quite looking like you wanted it to look, that doesn't mean that the opportunity for you to improve is over. We can go ahead and we can move forward and we can get things going. And so that's why we are studying this book today. You do not need the book. I am telling you some of my most favorite parts about the book. This is chapter 2. We have moved on to chapter 2 finally. And I love chapter 2 because it is the basis of what I teach my clients. So Raven, you're very familiar with this. Robert, you will be familiar with this. Those of you in personal mastery are my private clients, so you know about this. Chapter 2 is all about how your habits shape your identity and vice versa. This is important for you to understand, and it'll help you also to look back at some of the times that you've actually tried to make changes in your life and found that that was a little bit difficult, or that you stayed on track for a little bit and then you failed. What you need to understand about change in this chapter, to me, is going to be life-changing. A lot of times when we start to create these changes or we want to make habit changes in our life, we go about it in the wrong way. Either we try to change the wrong thing or we try to change our habits the wrong way. Chapter 2 goes specifically over how we try to change the wrong thing. Now, this is in alignment with what I believe, because I think that there are layers of behavioral change, right? There are changes in the goals and the outcomes that you set for yourself, as well as, hey, C. Marie, thanks for joining. There's also a layer of where you try to change those processes that we talked about yesterday. So these are some of the little things that are going to get you toward the goal. You may try to change those things in order to create behavior change. And then there is a deeper layer of change, and it's called an identity change. And that is basically, changing how you identify yourself. So most people try to change outcomes, and that is changing. Like we talked about this in the first day when we were thinking of our 90-day goal. We were thinking of, okay, for some of us, we want to lose weight, we want to save more money, we want to get financially stable, we want to create emergency funds for ourselves and all of that. However, most of the goals associated with that level, it's okay, but that's not taking you to where the deeper levels happen, the deeper levels of change happen. And that may be why when you try to change, you find it very difficult to move forward and stick to the changes that you make on a consistent basis. The second layer of change, like I said, is the process. So when you're trying to change your process, you may throw all of your food out if you're trying to be healthy, or you may try to set up a budget when you are trying to save more money for yourself. Or in your relationships, you may try to change your behavior if you're trying to realize some different changes in your relationship. And again, not discounting that, because that takes you a layer deeper into making changes that are going to last. Because remember, I told you those processes do support you get into the outcome once you identify where it is that you want to go. But here is the layer that people always miss. By the time I get clients coming to me for help, they do not understand this part. And once they do, it changes their life. So I want you to pay attention to this. The third and deepest layer of creating a change in your life is concerned with changing your identity. This is powerful because if you can understand that the way that you're going to make that deep, long-lasting shift in your life is by changing your identity, is because you are changing your beliefs. You're making paradigm shifts. You're changing your behaviors. You're changing the way that you see the world. You're getting rid of beliefs and assumptions and limiting beliefs that are holding you back from being successful in whatever goal that you've identified that you'd like to accomplish. So your outcomes, remember, are the destination. The processes are what you do to get to that outcome. But your identity is about what you believe. And if you don't understand that in order to create lasting change, you're going to have to go deep down into that belief level, then you're going to find it's going to be harder for you to make lasting changes and stick with them, which is primarily why it doesn't matter if you are coming to me because you want to have more money, if you are coming to me because you want to have better relationships, you want to be more spiritually in tune. There's a lot of things that I help my clients with, and they all move on to be very successful in their endeavors and their goals and their outcomes. However, the number one thing that we spend the most time with is identity shifting via changing behaviors, assumptions, beliefs, all of the things that are going to get in the way, that mindset that causes the cascade that eventually triggers what it is that you experience in your life and what you experience in your relationships. So many of you have probably tried to make these changes in your life by focusing on what you want to achieve. Listen, you try to focus on what you want to achieve, but that's only going to lead you to outcome-based habits. The alternative for you, if you want to create lasting change in your life, okay, I thought it went out a little bit. Hold on a second. Let's fix this. All right, we should be okay. Sorry, Instagram. Okay, so anyway, the alternative is, when you are trying to change, is to shift your identity. With this approach, you start by focusing on who you wish to become. If you are trying to do outcome-based activities and changes, another thing that could occur is that you end up trying to manipulate and change and spend a lot of energy on things that often are not in your controls, especially if you are in a difficult circumstance or a difficult situation or a relationship. That can be a very energy draining, and you can end up creating this unnecessary force. If you know about physics, when you're trying to change something and you meet resistance and you keep forcing, you end up being exhausted, you end up being burnt out, you end up not getting the results that you want, but expending a lot of energy. Whereas when you start to learn that if you really want to impact the world around you and the relationships around you, then it starts with exacting change from the inside out, then you start to find that things flow easier. You accomplish your goals easier. You're able to stay on track easier. You attract better people in your life. You attract opportunity and recognize opportunity easier. And the reason why it's easier is because at the end of the day, the only thing that you have the most control over, I call it, you'll hear a lot of people that teach leadership talk about this, but you want to focus on things that are within your control. And what's in your control is your behavior, the way you identify yourself, the things that you believe, etc. So that's why it's easier to do change, enact change, and have lasting change from the inside out. So If you are trying to build identity-based habits, I want to explain to you what this looks like. I'll explain to you what it looks like via the example he gave us in the book, but I'll also explain to you kind of what it looks like in my life when I'm trying to level up and in my client's life. So you can kind of see maybe how this would fit into your life as you are trying to put the things in place that you need to put in place in order for you to achieve your 90-day goal that you've identified. So imagine that there's two people, they're trying to quit smoking, and one person, when they get offered a cigarette, they say, no, thanks, I'm trying to quit. Or even if you're on a diet, right? No, thanks, I'm trying to eat healthy. That's one way of doing it, right? So then every time that you are offered a cigarette, or every time that there's food that you deem to be unhealthy that is placed in front of you, you often have to continue to, from your point of view that you're at right now, resist things that you're trying to overcome, because your identity is that of somebody that is trying to quit something or trying to change something, versus let me show you how it will look the other way. Say the same person offered this person a cigarette or something unhealthy like a snack. If you changed your identity as a person that is not a smoker, you don't smoke any longer, you're not a smoker, or you eat healthy, it's easier for you to resist certain things that come into your life because you just don't identify with them anymore. It's a difference between you saying, I know I'm trying to quit smoking, versus I'm not a smoker. Do you see how powerful it is when you start to change your identity into one that is in alignment with the goal that you want to accomplish? You have a new goal and a new plan, right? But when you don't change who you are making it unnecessarily harder for you to be able to stick with a change that you're trying to make in your life. I'll give you another example. So for instance, for me, sometimes I'll have these goals that are out of the world. So I'm going to give you an example. So let's say I had $1,000 in the bank and I want to have $20,000 in the bank in the end of the year, right? That can be a big goal, right? But if I was to say, you know what, this is me, I like to shop, I like to eat out, I like to go do fun stuff, and I identify myself as the Sheikah that I am now, it's going to be a lot harder for me to say no to some of those things that pull me when I'm trying to save my money. However, if I shift my identity, and what I have to do when I am creating big goals like that is I have to think about, well, what would future Sheikah, if she already had that $20,000 in the bank, what kind of choices would she be making in order for her to have gotten to that place and in order for her to continue to grow? She is somebody that, yeah, she goes out, but she does so with much more discernment. She is a saver. She does not waste her money. She respects her resources. So I've turned into a different person, not the person that likes to party and likes to shop and likes to go out and likes nice things. I'm now the person that is a saver, that respects my money, that has discernment with my money, that likes to budget. And when I do that, this is why this is so powerful. If you start to assume the identity of someone that has already accomplished what it is that you're trying to achieve, you don't have to worry so much about changing your behavior and changing your beliefs. Because if you continue to adopt these mannerisms, these habits, these way of thoughts about that are in alignment with the person that already has done what you're trying to do, everything else will take care of itself. If you identify yourself with somebody that budgets and saves, and you budget and save, it makes it easier. You don't have to worry about thinking about things. You are changing your identity. It's Powerful. What is also powerful about this is it'll help you understand. Hey, Kathy, it'll help you understand. And hey, Marie, some of your past missteps. I'm going to call them failures, but I'm going to call them failures with quotes, where you have tried to change something on a surface layer, but your behavior is incongruent with how you identify yourself. Much deeper, or much deeper, that doesn't make sense. I tend to notice this more in people that are trying to make internal changes that are meaningful within themselves and enact change in relationships. If you want to have a loving relationship and you want to be married and you want to have all the things that make you feel wanted and needed and respected and valued, however, your behavior is incongruent, your beliefs are incongruent, you don't identify with someone that thinks that that kind of stuff is possible for them, it doesn't matter how many changes you make on the surface, these changes tend to not be lasting. If you want more money, he says, you may want more money, but if you identify as someone who consumes rather than creates, then you will continuously be pulled to spending rather than earning. Powerful. And leave a comment. How do you guys do with this? When you're approaching your change, do you try to change the behavior? Do you try to change your goals? Or do you really take the time to think about the person that you need to become in order to make that change easier? Again, if you want to make change, because this audience is primarily female, I'll tell you, like on my computer, I have a little sticky note. I'll show you a little sticky note. And on my sticky note, for my big goals that I have, the questions that I'm asking myself every day is, what is she doing? Not me right now, because me right now, I'm not there yet. But if I want to shift and I want to get into this role where I'm actually changing my identity, I need to think about what is the person that I want to do. Who's the woman that I want to be? What is she doing? What is she thinking? How is she feeling? This is a huge one. How is she approaching decision making? Oftentimes, even if you start to adopt this identity shifting type of behavior when it comes to changing your life, and I promise you this is going to change your life, then you still often, I see stumbles around decision making in your current life. So even though you don't have what it is that you want, think about the woman that you want to become. If she was in your shoes going through what you're going through now, how would she be acting? What decisions would she be making? What would she be doing? How would she be spending her time? How would she dress? How would she eat? How would she look? I mean, you like take it down to a molecular level. And those of you that have been following me for a long time, you know that I talk about this being almost like a form of method acting, where you get into character based on the person that you want to become. And think about it. If you were an actress and you were in a movie set and you were stepping into character, if you adopted all the mannerisms of somebody that was successful and somebody that had what it is that you wanted, she wouldn't be doing all the things that stop you from accomplishing your goals. So the more that you can learn to shift your identity into someone that already has what it is that you want, everything else takes care of itself. And until you can learn to identify yourself with somebody that is on that totally different level, then it's going to be harder for you to stick to change. Lena said, I try to change the behavior. And the reason why behavioral changes are so hard, you guys, and a lot of people, as you probably have tried to change behavior and have in some way, shape, or form reverted. Number one, you're not changing your identity. But number two, the reason why it's harder to start off changing a behavior is because by the time you start to want to change a behavior, especially a behavior that has been ingrained and habitual, it has already scientifically, physiologically cause pathways in your brain that are hardwired, that you have to try to use willpower and determination and discipline in order to undo. And scientifically, it takes most people not 21 days like people say, not 30 days like people say. Most people that put in the average effort over time, it takes them about 12 weeks, so about 3 to 6 months, which is why I specifically work with clients no less than 3 months. It's not because I'm out here trying to get your money. It's because I know that in order for you to rewire your brain to your new behaviors, it takes about 3 to 6 months of consistent, persistent effort. And so if you start with trying to change a behavior, like Lena said, it's going to get hard and you're going to get discouraged and you're going to slip. And so the easiest way for you to be able to do this with a minimal amount of frustration is to identify as somebody other than who you are right now. And it's not fake it till you make it, because you hear a lot of people saying fake it till you make it. In a way it is, but I would have you look at it differently. What's wrong with pretending to be the best version of yourself? Because the more that you try to pretend to be the best version of yourself, what is she thinking? What is she doing? Feeling? What is she wearing? What is she eating? If you could get deep into that character, pretty soon it will not be pretending anymore, because you will hardwire these positive parts of yourself into your brain, and it will now become a good positive habit to carry you forward. So you have to change who you are. He states the ultimate form of intrinsic motivation. So this is motivation that doesn't come from your family members that don't support you, or it doesn't come from any external sources or motivation, or some of you like to watch a motivational video or go to church or do whatever you do to get your hit, but then when that little hit wears off, you're back to square one, not doing what it is that you need to do. He says the ultimate form of intrinsic motivation is when a habit becomes a part of your identity. It's one thing to say, I'm the type of person who wants this. It's something very different to say, I'm the type of person who is this. So let that sink in for a minute. I think Kathy has a comment over here. I think it's true, Yashika, but obsessive compulsive people always revert even when they go hard and committed to the change daily. We still go back. So Kathy, I'm always going to challenge you. I'm not challenging the obsessive compulsion, because in all actuality, yes, there are some of you that are going to need deeper psychological help. And that's a totally different conversation. If you are in a space where you have psychological issues, then you're not going to be able to, in my opinion, to make long-lasting changes alone. And a self-help book, while it can give you a little bit of information to help you move forward, is not going to be the thing that actually pushes you to make that change without help. That's just what I believe with my psychology background. That's what I believe. But I don't think that you still go back. I think that if you are working with someone that is a solutions-oriented type of therapist, I'm solution-oriented. I'm not a therapist, but solutions-oriented I have a degree in psychology. And I also think that if they are helping you to not change behavior, a lot of psychology wants you to change behavior. Cognitive behavioral therapy, very popular, but it focuses on behavior. If you have a psychologist that understands not only how to change through identity shifting, but also how to get you to do things in a certain way, then I think that no, you won't revert back. There are plenty of success stories, and there are plenty of evidence of people that have had certain disorders or compulsions that have been able to overcome those with the right help and with the knowledgeable help, and then the commitment on their part to make the change. So I feel you, but I'm here to make you shift and see that anything is possible, and you can change anything that you want to change. You don't go back. So if you have went back, either maybe you need different help, maybe you need different tactics, or maybe it's the identity, not the behavior, the identity. Let's see. Robert said, I love that. Be the best version of you. Yep. Want versus is. I love that one. That one is amazing, that last quote. So if you guys have, you know what, I'll read it again because I was talking here over to Kathy here. It's one thing to say that you're the type of person who wants something. It's something very different to say that you're the type of person who is something. Very different. All right. And so I'm going to stop. We're going to do one more little piece from chapter 2. I'm going to stop. Make sure you start typing in your questions, concerns, if you want any coaching or you have issues with this, or even if you have any feedback like Kathy did around how you can make these identity shifts and changes, then go ahead and type them in the comment box while I read the last little bit of truth and knowledge in this chapter. So he also says your behaviors are usually a reflection of your identity. And that could even be the identity, Kathy, that you are an obsessive compulsive person. You have that label, yes. And some of you may have been labeled as somebody that has something, right? You could be anemic, you could be diabetic, you could be depressed. There's many different labels that we adopt in this label crazed society. However, you don't have to identify with the label, and that is totally something else. And if you, the more I find that the more that people identify with these labels and make them a part of their identity versus a part of their identity, is different. I find that those people also have the most difficulty in making changes and shifts. Your behaviors are usually a reflection of your identity. What you do is an indication of the type of a person that you believe that you are, either consciously or unconsciously. So just ending on, we'll just say the depression piece. There is a difference between a person that has been labeled as having depression versus you identifying yourself as depressed. And I think that, again, when you start to understand being solution-oriented, process-oriented, as well as working on how it is that you identify yourself when you're trying to make change, you're going to see that there is power in the way that you identify yourself versus making long-lasting change for yourself. So let me see if there were any questions, any concerns. I don't think I missed anybody here on Instagram. I got Kathy's over here. So again, we have 2 more days left this week, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, going over atomic habits to help you make shifts in your life. If you do find that you're struggling, if identity shifting is new to you and you want to work with me on how you can learn how to shift your identity so that you can create long-lasting changes and also just step into the best version of who you are, because you learn how to step back, recalibrate, tap into your intuition and tap into your authentic self. And from that place, learn how to set goals that have more purpose and meaning and value based on your true belief system. Then I do have slots open for private coaching. You can check the link in my bio. If you're on Instagram, you can private message me. It's a free consultation, about 20 minutes, see if we're a good fit to work together. But if you've tried to do this stuff on your own and you're not getting anywhere, then you may want to talk about getting help. Or if you find that you want to make fast changes because you have somebody that has a framework, they understand what it takes to change and they can guide you through it step by step so that you can have that support, putting it into practice, as well as staying consistent so you don't give up on yourself, then that is when you would want to also consider working with a coach. Otherwise, I do not see any more questions or any more comments or feedback. So I will see you all tomorrow, same time, same place. Take care. Bye.